I'm so glad you're here to ease back, to rest, and to listen. Before we get started, I want to share this with you. Rest is many things. Rest is a portal. Rest is a bridge from where you are to where you want to be. Rest is fuel. Rest is a soft place to land. And most of all, rest is sacred. Rest is refuge. Rest is remembrance. Rest is a revelation. You are sacred. Your rest is sacred. And if you want to infuse more of the sacredness of rest into your day to day life, I have something for you. Check out my latest book, Rest is Sacred, at www.restisacred.com. Okay, enjoy your listen. Welcome to Leaders Devoted to Rest, where we explore how rest is a sacred practice that awakens both possibility and power within you. I'm your guide, Octavia, Faith, and Raheem. In each episode, I chat with a leader whose life has been positively transformed through their devotion to rest. Now, you know we aren't just going to sit up here and talk about rest. We are going to actually lay down. Each episode ends with a rest practice for you to try at home. Rest is fuel, and you are in the right place to fuel up. So grab your favorite pillow, blanket, cozy socks, and journal, and ease on back as we begin another restorative episode. Today, I am chatting and resting with Rashida Parrish, who is a senior staff project manager and chief cat herder. She is passionate about mindfulness, meditation, and the power of rest to create balance and spark creativity in life. By intentionally carving out moments of stillness, she's found that rest isn't just about recharging, it's where her best ideas and deepest clarity emerge. In this episode, we discuss how rest is the secret to working smarter, living more fully, and staying connected to what and who truly matters. Welcome. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for sending out the invitation.
So, I like to start by stopping. And I invite you to step into that pause with me. And you can do that with your eyes open, your eyes closed. And we really just slow down, then we pause, notice our bodies, and together we'll take 3 breaths. And when you feel complete with that, if you closed your eyes, you open your eyes. Thank you so much for being here. Could you start us off by just sharing who you are and where you are arriving from?
Yeah. So my name is Rashida Parrish, and I am here in the A in Atlanta, sitting in my little humble home office this afternoon.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that. So I'm thinking about the pause we just took and how it really felt like, and you can tell me, like an infusion of fuel. Like I just felt like
I could drink
Mhm.
some caffeine, or I could,
Yeah.
just take a few deep breaths, clearly I know
Yep.
they're not the same. And I felt like I paused and I leaned back into like just a micro dose of rest, if you will.
Yeah.
And that now I feel more awake and alert. Did that happen for you, or was it?
Yeah, no, it does, and it does every time I go into that little space. I do this that little 3 breaths all day throughout my entire day at different moments. Just like before I have a conversation with somebody or a meeting or even first thing in the morning before I do anything, I step my feet on the ground and I root and I take those 3 breaths. It does bring a little bit of energy, and then it just for a second, it clears because you just automatically your brain is so powerful, and those electrons are just going, going, going. When you stop and breathe, it goes from like this to just that kind of steady, "Okay, we're
Yeah.
good." So, yeah,
Yeah, so
definitely.
that's good because I know sometimes pausing and noticing, you go, "Ooh, I'm really tired."
Mhm.
And both end can be true, but in
Yeah,
this moment here together, it was very energizing and awakening. What has rest awakened within your life? I know you've been on a journey of resting and awakening,
yeah.
and so I'm curious if you can share with us what rest has awakened for you within your life.
I really love this question. So, I actually this year took a very huge leap and did a a tech talk. I won't call it a TED talk. It was officially like a tech talk on rest and mindfulness in our everyday corporate lives. And I always have this weird feeling about mixing the two of those things. But as I started really unraveling this year, spending more and more time just being quiet, resting, because life has just gotten busier, right? Um, what it's kind of awakened in me is my creativity, first of all, my ability to just think more freely, and then my ability to show up. You and I have known each other for a long time, and the one thing that I've always struggled with is being present in my body. I still have the note that I got from my YTT graduation that says, "Your body is your home."
Mm.
And I have been able to connect so much more deeply with that, and it's just really unleashed, like, Rashida 2.0, which has been an awesome feeling.
Mm. So you said that kind of mixing the two, the rest and the corporate or the work, you struggle with that. Why so?
Well, in corporate America, the messaging is do more, keep going, push long hours, and it's almost like a badge of honor some people wear to say, "Oh, I worked 12 hours today," or "I worked through the weekend," or, "I only slept 4 hours." And as I stepped outside of that and just started resting more, I'm like, that is really I'm trying like, it's the worst way possible if you could look at this thing, and how much more productive you are when you do take the moment to be intentional about your schedule, and you're not juggling a million things. And so it was really me struggling to figure out how to counter that narrative, and the concern, which is unfounded, that it would prevent me, from growing corporately when it's it's literally kicked open doors for me. So I leaned into it more and more, and as I more like just started approaching it little by little, I started seeing the shift, the rooms that I've been able to sit in because I am able to have more mindful and creative conversations because I'm thoughtful with my time. the way that I've just been able to grow into who I always knew that I was, but stepping more into it, like, more confidently, those things have shifted. So I think when to answer your question, it was a struggle because everything about corporate America capitalism tells you that that's not what you're supposed to do. But as I took it on for myself, what I'm learning is exactly what we should be doing because
Mm.
it impacts all parts of our lives in a positive way.
Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
Rest is more than productive, it's generative.
Yes.
It's a creative force. It's like high level fuel. I'm like, this the fuel you put in your Porsche,
That's
right?
right. That's right.
Like it's and the thing about it is that it requires practice. You can't just read about it. You can't just think about it. You have to practice it with some level of consistency
Yep.
and I'll dare I say devotion to really get a more felt sense of how rest can work for you.
Yep.
And the other thing about it, because it's like the both end, like I know it like as an author and a business owner, that like how is high level fuel and how it literally powers my creativity and what I am able to generate. And that's actually still, it's not really why I rest. I'm like, I rest as a practice of remembering that as I am worthy. These
Yes.
other things are like really incredible byproducts that I am still sitting here like,
Yeah,
you
exactly.
know, um, to not rest is to be out of rhythm with your own life force in a real sense. And so thank you. I just like that was I wanted to take that little tangent because you said it and I'm like, yeah, I want to know more about what that feels like and why you feel that way.
Yeah.
Um so rest has awakened Rashida 2.0. I love that.
Yep.
What who is Rashida 2.0 and what does Rashida 2.0 is what are they committed and devoted to being and doing, and what are
Yeah.
they committed and devoted to not doing and being?
I absolutely love this question because even as I read it, like I had to like it took me a minute to really think about this and it's been on my mind ever since. But I will tell you, I it's liberating. I have this feeling of liberation. This with this whole metamorphosis, this Rashida 2.0, because I'm able to plant my feet very firmly and say, this is what I stand on business on. This is what I'm always going to be 10 toes down on. And it's always going to be, my family and my community. Those things are unwavering. And regardless of whatever I do outside of that, right? Like whether it's working for somebody else, whether it's working for myself, the things that I put into myself, my family, and my community, that will never change. As far as what I'm not about to do, I have I have really found so much again, liberation and joy in not getting bogged down in everybody else's opinion on how things should be, could be, would be, um, getting bogged down in just like the whole competition rat race thing. Like I listen, I know what I bring to the table, and either you appreciate what I bring to the table or you don't. And I'm not going to fight anyone or try to shake someone for them to be able to see my worth. I spent so many years of my life as a woman, as a black woman in a bigger body, thinking that I had to do that. And this new, like, liberated sense in me is like, no, you know who you are. If they can't see that, that's their problem. And you're not about to continue to make yourself sick in
Mm.
order to make somebody else see that about. So I think that those are the 2 things. I stay committed to my family and my community 100%, unwavering, no matter what happens. And what I'm not about to do is try to convince somebody that I'm dope because I know that I am already, right?
I hear I am committed to not exhausting myself to prove something that I have an embodied knowing of, and that
Yes.
it's connected to what you're devoted to and who you're devoted to. Because I also hear the devotion being placed clearly and squarely in the places where your being is affirmed as you
Yes.
are. Right? I don't
That's
know.
absolutely right.
You know, um, and I do know from personal experience that part of the it's like the race toward exhaustion, for me was really propelled forward by a sense of I'm trying to prove something
Mhm.
to something outside of myself that's like hell bent on being like, but you ain't fill in the blank.
Right.
You aren't. You cannot. Like trying to prove to something that you literally cannot prove your value to.
Yeah.
You can't actually do enough. You know?
Right.
um,
Exactly.
um, so thank you for sharing that. I'm still curious, like, so who is Rashida 2.0? Rashida, like, what is Rashida 2.0 inspired by? Creating, visioning, dreaming. Um, how is that Rashida living? And since it's a 2.0, that is an upgrade. So
Yeah.
something's different. So
Absolutely.
what's different about Rashida 2.0 than Rashida 1?
I previously I think a lot of the things that I did were driven by this feeling of not enoughness, right? I'm not enough uh for this person or this place or this thing. And now I know that I'm enough. So when I walk into a room, regardless of what that room is, shoulders up, back and down, I belong here and I belong here because I'm here. Um, Another piece of it is a lot of things that I was doing or the way that I responded to things was driven by fear and stress and anxiety. And some of that is generational. Some of that dealt with traumas that I've experienced in my own life, traumas that unfortunately, my son has had to deal with in his life. But I have been able to take the time to rest and heal from those things. I've been able to help my family figure out the formula for the rest and the healing. And so now when I make decisions, it's not like the fight or flight mode consistently. It is from a place of a more rest system. And that's not to say that anxiety doesn't happen anymore or a fight or flight mode doesn't happen anymore. The difference is I recognize it. And because I'm not always operating from that place, I'm able to pause and say, this is not a moment to do. This is a moment to don't. Stop and rest for a moment and really think about the decision that you're about to make or the thing that you're about to say. It's just everything is much more intentional. And it feels like I've lost 300 pounds because I don't have that feeling of everything feels so urgent and anything could go wrong at any minute. That's like very so far behind me, and I think that's the part of me that's changed, that's really helped unlock so much for me.
Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
You said something I want to lift up, which is this is not a moment to do. This is a moment to don't.
Mhm.
This is not a moment to do. This is a moment to don't.
Mhm.
Rashida Parrish told us that.
Yeah.
What brought you to rest?
You I mean, in all honesty, Um, I remember the first mini Starshine and Clay that I did at Sacred Chill, and I had never done a rest practice before. I had taken yoga classes before, but they had been like more in the Western sense where it was really focused on the movement piece, which is fine. I love the way that yoga feels in my body, but I have never been given permission to rest. And the first time that I laid down on my mat and did a restorative yoga practice, it was just like, "Oh my god." Like, I feel like I slept an entire night. My jaw's not clenched, my shoulders not all tight up against my ears. And then as I continued to go through these practices and learn more and more about the deeper levels of breath practices, from yoga nidra to having a sadhana and just like all these, it just it it seemed like so intuitive, and again, every time coming back to myself. So I really do thank you for introducing me to rest practices, because it's not something that I'd ever thought of, heard of, outside of like taking a nap, you know, like, and normally that happens when you're exhausted and it's not necessarily intentional. But the whole intentional rest practice, I really do. Um, Thank you for that. The gift that you gave of sharing that with.
Yeah, and so you said your jaw unclenched, your shoulders dropped
Mhm,
down, you had a really, a physical, I guess, a pleasant physical response to the rest and stillness.
mhm.
I know that sometimes when we're, like, moving 1,000 miles per hour, that's a hyperbole, clearly. Even the thoughts of pausing or resting or even the thought of slowing down is overwhelming. So I'm saying that to say the first restorative class I went to by accident, right? I would not have willfully signed up for that. And so that's even what I mean. Like, why'd you sign up for that class? Like, I'm curious about the mind state or the mindset that caused you to go, I'm going to do something that says the word restorative. I'm going to show up and rest. Thank you for saying,
Yeah.
like, I brought you to rest. And you have
Yeah.
a, I mean, like, because here's the thing that was, we're rounding the corner on many, many years of that.
I know.
And you continue to practice. So I guess my question is like, no, really, why'd you stay?
That's a great
And
so
like the
I get that,
mindset,
yeah.
because I think that sometimes there's the gap. We can even be physically exhausted and
Mhm.
just cannot stop. And I don't know if you would put yourself in that camp of someone who you started off one way,
Yeah.
um, and you
I
came to this restorative class, and now and here we are about 7 years later. You still have a practice. So why is
Yes. So when I first signed up for your class, I was working in an extremely toxic job. I mean, it was 3 hours total worth of a commute. I was underpaid. I was being exposed to workplace trauma, and I was exhausted. And at the time, I think, I had a 7-year-old. And just really starting in this new marriage. I had bought a house, and I could feel myself going down a path because I mean, I've had a nervous breakdown before. I know what it felt like, and I've worked, wrestled with anxiety my whole life, and I've never really been able to find something that was like a total package. Of course, I go to therapy. I've had to take medicine at one point in time for a temporary space because I needed it. But I wanted something that I could always have in my tool belt for myself. And so when I read the description of the class, there were two things that stuck out for me. One, it was an affirming space for Black and Indigenous women of color. And because of the types of workplace trauma that I was dealing with at the time, that was extremely inviting because there was not a space that I had seen or found that welcomed that I had known of in this yoga thing. I think secondly, the opportunity to walk into some place and not have any expectation to perform, not have any expectation, and I don't want to say expectation to perform, feeling the pressure of the expectation to perform. So, because let's be real, most people are not paying attention to you when you're in a yoga class. But having that not feeling that pressure and knowing that I'm coming into a room with women that look like me in a space that is affirming, it felt safe to rest. So those are the reasons why I came there. And the biggest one now that I say that is the safety piece of it, feeling safe to rest. Because oftentimes, um, Black women in America, you don't feel safe to rest. But that opened that door for me, and I walked through it, and I've never looked back.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you for sharing. Like you brought us into your life and you shared some things that are tender and close and that they resonate with me too, right? So thank you for sharing that, Rashida. Before we rest, because my joke is, I'm like, y'all said yes to talking to me because I said, well, we're gonna pause together, we're gonna rest a little bit. And I ain't even mad at it. If someone said so, this and then rest, I'm gonna say yes. But before we rest, how has rest, what is rest transforming in your lineage and legacy? Or how is it, and I think you've answered some of this, how it's impacting your leadership? Like I heard
Yeah.
confidence, I heard courage, I heard just the clarity to be like, this is what I stand on, and this is what I'm 10
Mhm.
toes down on family and community and myself and sanity and well being, and not this over here. Like I'm not
That's right.
hustling to prove my worth. Is there
Mhm.
anything else you want to share with us about what rest has really called forward in your leadership and how you see that impacting your lineage and your legacy?
Yeah, absolutely. It's given me the confidence to s to say what needs to be said, like, I have a voice and a unique perspective, and, I also am very talented in the space that I am. I'm able to really look at things and pull them apart and dissect them and come up with new ways of doing something. And in the past, I had always been hesitant to utilize that gift in the workplace because when I did at times, it would always be shot down or somebody would say, "Well, that's not how this works here," or "There's a hierarchy," or "We always do it this." And so I've overcome that worry in myself to be able to say, "Let me show you how this can transform X, Y, and Z." And I think what it has done for me is now I am invited into rooms that I have never been invited into before. I am able to have conversations with C-suite members who actually are like, "Rashida, I'm really interested in what you think about this." And 10 years ago, I would have been terrified to tell them what I think about something or how I see something being able to progress or get better. Now I know they ask me because my perspective is not only valued, but they know that I have the ability to make this vision come to life. So, from a legacy perspective, I'm building it, and I will call myself a late bloomer. I'll be 47 in July, but there's no time like the present, and I want to continue to carve that out for myself. Another thing you mentioned was lineage, and as soon as you said lineage, I thought about my son because he has his own rest practice, and he meditates. And not only that, but as a parent, I have the fortitude to say sorry when I mess up. I have the ability to really be present for him in ways that sometimes our parents may not have been able to be present for us because they were tired and exhausted and they had to work their fingers to the bone, you know? So I think there's a piece of me that's reparenting myself, but then also allowing him to have a different experience in his adolescence than I did. And all of those things heal lineage because one day if he chooses to have children, I feel like that cycle has been updated. I don't want to say broken, but changed. So yeah, that's how I reflect on those two things, and I feel like it's just overwhelmingly positive. And it again, the gift that I've been given, I do not take it for granted. So my rest practice is it's important to me. It's really changed things for me.
So what does your practice look like on a, I would say a weekly basis or daily basis or whatever your frequency is? What does it look like for you?
So it really depends, and I allow myself the ability to have it shift depending upon how I'm feeling or what my schedule looks like. But every morning, um, before I turn on lights, before I look at phone, there's just quiet pause, whether that's 5 minutes or whether I have time to do it for a half an hour, silent. Um, at the end of the day, at least 2 to 3 days a week, I will find 10 minutes where I'll put on maybe a guided yoga nidra or a guided restorative practice. And I do guided because the job that I'm in, I talk all day. And I'm always like, so I would rather have somebody else talking to me when I'm doing these practices. So then I'll put that on and I'll put my headphones on and allow myself to be in that quiet moment. And I have to schedule it because every part of my day is scheduled. I'm doing things, so it's intentional. But it's at least 2 to 3 days a week, but 7 days a week in the morning. It always starts off with silence, a meditation. Because what I've noticed is that I go into my day clear eyed, clear headed, and then when I wrap up my days with those just quiet moments, either restorative or yoga nidra, it I sleep better. I things come to me when I'm sleeping, or even as I awaken and I go into those quiet moments, little ideas pop up, journal, and yeah, it's it's a consistent practice. And then some weeks, if I have to travel or if there's a lot going on, some weeks it may be only once that I do the full stillness practice. But again, allow myself the ability to say, that was this week. Let's move on to next week.
Right, because sometimes we'll be like, I fell off, and so I'm just gonna stay off for then you look up, it's been 4 years.
It's been for
That is not my testimony.
right.
As a rest coach, I get that testimony sometimes when people come back or, are new to me, they go like, "Yeah, I was doing this thing and then I fell off." It's just like, I love that. That was last week. Here's a new week. Let's go.
Hmm.
Um, and I heard you say these critical moments in the day, the morning and the evening, they really are important moments. Like my daily rest practice happens before I get out of bed, right? I don't put my feet on the floor even before engaging my yoga nidra practice. And it's 12 minutes long. And it's like a whole 12 minutes. And it really clarifies clarifies for my day. So, I like to ask this question. I ask it of myself and others all the time when I'm in space and being with folks. But it is, what part of you is most in need of rest? And so I'm going to ask it to you. What part of you is most in need of rest?
My mind.
My mind.
Hmm.
And so I have to tell you, I've been asking this question for years, and that is the most consistent answer. Yeah. I mean, to the tune of like 80%. I'm like, I should start documenting like how, like if I'm in a room with 100 people, how many people say mind? And so I'm going to ask another layer to that. And you don't, it's not for you to say aloud unless you just want to.
Okay.
Like, what part of mind? And here's what I'm asking is there some recurring thought? Are we talking about the cadence of thoughts? Like it just like thoughts on a loop, just too many thoughts at one time? Because what I've learned is that sometimes it's my mind and I have this thought that I keep thinking and I'm having a response to the thought internally, right? Maybe that makes sense to you. Or sometimes people are like, I just have racing thought. Like I can't stop thinking about all the stuff I'm doing or not doing, like that. Yeah.
Yep.
So do you have your answer within, like if we drill down a little bit, it's not just mine, but is there like a thought or a way of being with the mind that
Yeah.
is fatiguing? So if you don't have to tell me anything super specific, is it
Okay.
a thought or is it a way of being with the mind?
It's definitely a way of being with the
Okay.
mind.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Um, so you can choose, would you like to lay down or would you like to sit up?
I will say seated.
Yes. Thank you. Because I like to give the option, but I think it will actually serve what is most in need of rest for you. To sit more upright. There's a way we can call in attention in that way. Um, I don't know if you notice is sometimes you lay down and you just really start drifting. The
Hmm.
ruminations might speed up a little bit initially, but
Yeah.
then they settle down. It just depends, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and so you can also stay on camera. You can go off. Yeah. And if you would like to close your eyes, that invitation is always there. You can also just soften your gaze. When we close our eyes, we shut the door on the external world in a sense, and we open the window right to the vastness of the internal landscape. And I used to say, we opened the door to Narnia, and people would laugh. But that opening is sometimes really welcome. And sometimes that internal opening is like, well, this is everything I'm trying to avoid. What are we doing? Like, this is not it. Everything seems to speed up. Okay. I'm just naming that in case there's a sense of relief that comes when you close your eyes, or if the urge to open them becomes persistent. I'm going to say do open them and then just let your gaze focus on one spot. I start in this place often, which is to be aware of the support beneath the body, where the hips touch the chair and where the chair touches the hips. And to notice from the base or bottom of the body all the way up, and then from up all the way down. And once you scan the body up and then down, you can scan from left to right. And part of the way I'll invite you to scan is just even where is your attention drawn within your body, within the loose structure of up to down, left to right. And can you get 1% more comfortable? Can you release 1% more tension? And then is there a place in the body that needs more support? And how you might know that is there's some gripping happening or some aching happening. And if we don't attend to that physically, it will become the mantra, if you will. It will become the thing that is captivating your attention and you can't stop thinking about. So you take care of your body, even if it means you have to shift or move. The stillness we are calling in is not a rigid stillness. And it's also an invitation that we can accept in varying degrees. So what are we doing right now? You're just kind of scanning your body top to bottom, bottom to top, left to right. Can you soften the face, the neck, the shoulders, the elbows, the wrist, the hands? Soften the right arm, left arm. Soften around the chest, belly, navel, hips, bless you, hips, knees, ankles, feet. Soften or relax, I'll say. Right leg, left leg, hips, glute, abdomen, chest, shoulders, neck, face, back of head, back of neck, upper back, middle back, lower back, glutes, back of legs, bottoms of feet. And then notice the breath, the inhale and the exhale, the rise and the fall, the ebb and the flow. And to anchor the mind, we will offer it an anchor or a mantra. And so on the inhale, silently say to yourself, let. And on the exhale, silently say to yourself, go. Inhale, let. Exhale, go. Inhale, let. Exhale, go. Inhale, let. Exhale, go. Continue to repeat that silently for 1 minute. Inhale, let. Exhale, go. And then if you're still repeating the words, inhale, let, exhale, go. We let the words go. Just let them drift away. And we'll sit in the internal and external silence for 5 breaths. And then allow the breath to deepen with ease. Notice the body. Check in with your mind. Notice if there's just a little bit more space between each thought. And then if you got really still, you bring some movement back in. And then when you're ready, you come back and you open your eyes. Mm. Hi, Rashida. So, how was that for you?
Mm. It definitely, every time I stop, excuse me, my allergies, I have fall allergies, so they're killing me right now.
Mm.
Um, every time I have the opportunity to, the more and more I focus on the breath, the slower those thoughts get,
That's
where
right.
it's like, "Doot, doot, 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 doot," and then it's like, "Doot, doot," and then finally it's just kinda like, not completely silent, but not something like where I feel like I'm on a treadmill trying to catch every thought. Um, like I am, there will be times where I'm like analysis paralysis, I'll call it, because I was just like everything is coming at me at once. Um, and I have to connect with that breath in order to slow that down. So that was sick because it just eases all those thoughts in the mind.
Mm.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for that. And thank you for just naming that the antidote, right? For the racing thoughts is
Hmm.
awareness of the breath. And it is true, it works. We have to remember it. And the more we practice it, even just a little bit, maybe it's not even 5 minutes, it's maybe just 1 minute. The more we have repetitious practice, the more we're going to remember that the breath is this incredible resource for us. So thank you for that.
Exactly.
So you were arriving, you told us your name, Rashida, just arriving from Atlanta, Georgia. How are you leaving or where are you leaving from now? Like, how are you leaving this conversation and this moment of pausing together?
I'm leaving with a deep sense of knowing, knowing that my practice is working, knowing that um, even in this short amount of time, hearing myself talk through all the ways that it's been transformative it's almost like a I don't know, like a boost for me. Emotionally, spiritually, mentally, keep keep going with it. You like listen to yourself. It's not a conversation that you would be able to have with a sort of confidence. And with confidence, I mean the ability to name what rest has done for you, even a year ago, 2 years ago, 3 years ago. So I feel a tremendous amount of, like I said, confirmation and growth. And so I leave here um, transformed, knowing I'm transformed.
Mm. Rashida, tell us where
I
we can
say, yeah.
find you. Tell us where we can find you, follow your work, learn more about you and
Yeah.
what you're up to.
So I am taking a very, very a dedicated, meaningful pause from most social media. Um, I am active on LinkedIn because I've been working on cultivating having this conversation around mindfulness and the corporate space. So you can find me LinkedIn. My name is Rashida Parrish there. Um, I have a moniker that I use, the Mindful Project Manager. I'll often post about how mindfulness can fit into your everyday life. Um, and then in the next 3 to 6 months, I plan on dipping my toe back into that Instagram, Twitter space. Um, but right now I'm taking a breather from it.
Thank,
But
thank
LinkedIn is where
you.
you can find me. Yeah.
And we'll put all those things in the show notes for when it's time.
Yeah.
Rashida, thank you so much for showing up here, for sharing with us, and for saying yes to this. Thank you for being here.
I appreciate you greatly. Thank you for allowing me to be in the space. And it's always pleasant to spend some time with you.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you so much for listening. And you are still here. I hope that means that you enjoy the episode. Before moving on to the next thing, I have an invitation for you. If you can, pause and notice your breath. Notice your inhale and notice your exhale. As you reflect on this episode, what did you hear that was interesting or inspiring? What did you learn? What did this episode wake up within you? What did this episode allow to rest within you? Thank you again so much for being here. You are sacred. Your rest is sacred. And you being here and you staying here affirm that you can be devoted to rest, that you can be a leader and devoted to rest. Until next time.